What's poppin', Team Avatar? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show, y'all. Spoilers for Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender show, because we about to talk about it, y'all. And it seems like Netflix done did the impossible and made a pretty decent, albeit flawed, adaptation of the greatest cartoon Nickelodeon has ever cranked out of that orange slime factory. So let's just hurry up and yip into this dang thing, shall we? But like always, if you guys want to give this video a thumbs up or even subscribe to the channel, that would really help YouTube to know that you love what we do here on Heavy Spoilers. And also, don't forget, for just 99 cents a month, you can become a member and get super early access to our videos before everybody else, which is super dope, but not necessary. We're just glad that you took the time to stop by and hang out. Alright, so the series starts off exactly the way it ends, with an image of Sozin's Comet, the shooting celestial object that loves to pop by every 100 years to turn the Fire Nation's firebending powers up to 11. Fire Lord Sozin uses this comet to launch his diversionary attack on the Earth Kingdom in order to distract the entire world to his true intentions, the complete eradication of the chrome domes in the clouds, the air nomads. And the season finale of this show reveals that Fire Lord Ozai has taken much inspiration from his ancestor and awaits the second coming of Sozin's Comet in order for the Fire Nation to be powerful enough to unite the world under Ozai's totalitarian rule. And Ozai would even have Admiral Zhao attack the Northern Water Tribe as a distraction, much like Fire Lord Sozin did with his attack on the Earth Kingdom. The coming of Sozin's Comet is pretty much the main apocalyptic threat that Team Avatar has to face in the original series, so having it be the teaser for a potential season 2 was majorly fitting. But anyways, after Fire Lord Sozin tricks an Earthbender into warning the rest of the world of an incoming attack by the Fire Nation to the Earth Nation, Sozin hits that Earthbender with the air fryer and sets it to extra crispy. Then we get a live action recreation of the opening from the original Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon series, with a slightly altered narration. In the intro, we can see Avatar Kyoshi doing her Avatar thing before joining a long series of other avatars on a staircase to Avatar Heaven. The earthbending Kyoshi greets her predecessor Avatar Kuruk of the Northern Water Tribe, and behind Kuruk, we can see his predecessor, the air nomad Yang Chen. And behind Yang Chen is her predecessor, the firebender Setzo of the Fire Nation. And when that intro ends, we can see that episode 1 is titled Aang. But what fans of the original series will immediately notice is how this live-action series has abandoned the original animation's theme of separating each season into separate books and chapters, with season 1 being Book 1 Water, followed by Book 2 Earth for season 2, and Book 3 Fire for season 3. But anyways, after we meet up with Aang, played by a 12-year-old Gordon Cormier in his first major leading role, we see that all the air nomads are preparing for the Comet Festival. And during this preparation, the council tells Gyatso that he finally needs to inform Aang that he's the Avatar, and that Aang would need to leave the Southern Air Temple to begin his rigorous Avatar training right away. Gyatso then does just that, and reveals to Aang that he's the Avatar in front of the statue of the last great air nomad Avatar, Yang Chen, who we saw on the stairs earlier. When Aang begins to reject the weight of responsibility that Gyatso just threw on him, Aang asks Gyatso if he can just keep pretending that he's Aang's friend instead, leading Gyatso to assure Aang that their connection was real and not just because of his duties to the Air Nomad Council. That moment felt extremely reminiscent of the moment between Clark and Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel, when Clark asks if he can keep pretending to be Jonathan Kent's son. But anyways, Aang, learning that he's the Avatar, started to blow his little bald-headed mind hardcore, so Aang decides to yip his ass into the sky on his flying bison, just as Fire Lord Sozin and his Fire Nation army arrived to completely wipe out the air nomad race, a race that had all assembled from across the world to celebrate the coming of the comet, a comet that would end up being the cause of their demise. Whoops! However, fate would lead Aang and his flying bison Appa to get caught up in a nearby sea storm, leading to Aang instinctually tapping into the Avatar state to freeze the two of them in order to keep them from drowning. But little did Magic Caillou know that doing so would cause him and Appa to sleep in the ice for 100 years until Katara and Sokka of the Southern Water Tribe coincidentally come across Aang's frozen body just moments before Aang's Avatar powers free him from his icy prison. Personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the way that this production did this because it doesn't really make sense why Aang would randomly decide to emerge from the ice at that exact moment. Because in the original series, Aang is actually accidentally freed by Katara herself, after she mistakenly waterbends Aang free while she was getting angry at Sokka for saying a super sexist comment. However, because the showrunners deliberately wanted to dial down Katara's feminist nature for this live-action show, they decided to switch up just how Aang got himself free from his sentry as a snow cone. But anyways, after Katara convinces her brother not to leave the scary, bald, harmless 12-year-old to die in the middle of the Arctic, he's brought before the Southern Water Tribe elders. Katara's grandmother then recites the exact words from the intro of the cartoon series when she informs Aang about the Fire Nation's attack on the world while he's been gone for 100 years. But unfortunately for Aang, when he first woke up from the ice, he accidentally farted a beacon of light into the sky, and Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation was coincidentally nearby to witness that light show, leading to Zuko arriving at the Southern Water Tribe, demanding that they give up the Avatar or else, which causes Aang to nobly give himself up in order to protect the villagers from harm. But luckily, those firebenders completely forgot that Aang was an airbender and was perfectly capable of using the air to steal the keys right off of this prison guard to escape his cell. Not sure why the prison guard did not immediately recognize the sound of jingling keys, but we'll just ignore that. With Katara and Sokka, of course, recruiting Appa to assist Aang in his escape. But before Aang escapes, Aang decides to sneak into Zuko's room like some sort of solid snake from Metal Gear Solid and steals Zuko's super secret Avatar diary, a notebook that would prove very helpful to Aang's journey. Team Avatar then flies to Aang's former home at the Southern Air Temple, where Aang finds the remains of his once thriving civilization, and his once living mentor Gyatso, who was looking pretty goddamn dead to me, causing Aang's emotions to launch Aang into a rageful Avatar state. But then Aang would calm himself down after remembering the wise and kind words of his slain teacher, and resolves to undergo his journey to becoming the best Avatar that he can be. Which leads us to the next episode titled Warriors, which starts with Team Avatar discovering a winged lemur at the remains of the Southern Air Temple, a winged lemur that Aang would of course name Momo. And while it is definitely great to have Momo and Appa in this series, you can definitely tell that this production tried to not use them as much as they could because of how expensive that they are to animate. But they do look pretty damn good, not gonna lie. Momo's raiding of their luggage causes Katara to come across a secret waterbending scroll that her mother snuck into her bags right before her and her brother started off on their journey. This is drastically different from the original cartoon, where Katara actually acquires that waterbending scroll after finding it on a pirate ship about 9 episodes into this first season. But the Netflix series pretty much bypassed that entire arc and just had the scroll be a family heirloom. Then, as the name of the episode would suggest, Team Avatar head to Kyoshi Island in order to seek insight from the past Avatar Kyoshi, who the island and its female warriors were named after. After the Kyoshi warriors apprehend Team Avatar, the leader of the island gives Aang 48 hours to conduct his business there and leave, for fear of attracting the attention of the Fire Nation. And during those 48 hours, Aang gets acquainted with the people of the island, even showing off his air scooter tricks before crashing into a nearby statue. A moment that this live-action Avatar The Last Airbender production ripped straight from the animated series, which I thought was a really nice touch. Sokka, of course, begins to get quite familiar with the Kyoshi warrior Suki, who ends up forming a warrior-like romantic bond with Sokka during their time together. In the original series, Sokka initially berates and underestimates the might of the Kyoshi warriors simply on the basis that they were all women, but is quickly humbled by how strong that they actually are. But this live-action show unfortunately appears to have omitted that crucial piece of Sokka character development, which I thought was a really bad idea, but you know, I'm not in charge. But anyways, after Katara encourages Aang to look inside himself to connect with the avatars of the past, Aang connects with the Avatar Kyoshi, who tells Aang that he's got to toughen the hell up and make becoming the Avatar his one and only focus. And to add fuel to that fire, Kyoshi pokes Aang's bald head and gives him a That's So Raven-ass vision of future events, specifically the Fire Nation's upcoming siege on the Northern Water Tribe in the last few episodes of the season. After this, in order to fend off Commander Zhao's assault on Kyoshi Island, Avatar Kyoshi herself channels her power through Aang in order to briefly take over his physical form and defend her people from the Fire Nation. Then after Sokka gets a kiss of thanks from Suki because he just got it like that, Team Avatar begins their trip to the Northern Water Tribe in order to keep Avatar Kyoshi's vision from happening. The episode then ends with Prince Zuko forming an uneasy alliance with the opportunistic Commander Zhao, who immediately breaks Zuko's trust by informing Fire Lord Ozai of the return of the Avatar, a crucial piece of information Zuko desperately needed to be kept quiet if he was going to capture Aang with minimal competition. But unfortunately for Zuko, the game is on. Episode 3, Omashu, then starts with a group of rebels attempting to assassinate Fire Lord Ozai, only for the Fire Lord to reveal that one of the freedom fighters among them was actually the princess of the Fire Nation, Azula. Not sure how these freedom fighters didn't know what Azula looked like, considering that they seem like pretty politically aware individuals. But hey, you don't exactly need to be a rocket scientist to be a freedom fighter now, don't you? So, you know, Darwinism always wins. But anyways, after Team Avatar spots a flying person in the sky over the city of Omashu, they head directly there. While waiting in line on the bridge, Team Avatar witness a person at the front of the line getting their cargo absolutely launched into oblivion by an earthbender. Another moment ripped straight from the animated series, as the cartoon originally had that happen to the fan favorite Cabbage Merchant. And speaking of said fan favorite Cabbage Merchant, James C., the voice actor for the Cabbage Merchant, actually hilariously reprises his role as the character in this live action show, with this character hilariously having his iconic "My cabbages" line constantly interrupted in order to tease those hardcore Avatar The Last Airbender fans who were just waiting for him to say the line. But speaking of lines, while Team Avatar waits in line to get into Omashu, they run into the freedom fighter Jet, who was also on his way to do some business in the city himself, with his business being the business of murder and revenge on the Fire Nation. But of course, Team Avatar would not find that out until much later, after Katara would of course develop a little bit of a crush on Jet. In the original cartoon, Team Avatar wouldn't actually meet Jet until around episode 10 of the first season, and they actually meet him in the Earth Kingdom village of Gaipan, a village that Team Avatar stops the radicalized Jet from flooding, as Gaipan was a key Fire Nation stronghold. Immediately after discovering that the flying figure was not an airbender, but instead a super inventive boy by the name of Teo, an explosion happens which causes Teo's father, the Mechanist, to bring Team Avatar into his home for shelter, with the Mechanist being played by Danny Pudi, who famously played the oddball character Abed in the TV show Community. In the original Avatar cartoon, we never actually get a name for this Mechanist character, as they're only referred to as the Mechanist. But in this live-action show, we finally learn that the character's name is actually Sai. But anyways, after Sokka projects his daddy issues onto Sai while helping Sai build his flying invention, Katara would later witness the Mechanist conducting business with the Fire Nation, not knowing that Sai was being forced to submit his inventions to the Fire Nation under threat of death. Sai's inventions would of course come into play during the finale of the season, when Admiral Zhao would use Sai's hot air balloon ass shit to infiltrate the Northern Water Tribe's most sacred grounds. But anyways, after Katara's boner for Jet wears off, she and Sokka stop Jet from doing a big terrorism on Omashu's King Bumi, while Prince Zuko faces off against Aang in the marketplace after Zuko and Iroh tracked Team Avatar to that location. But earlier, while Zuko and his uncle were looking for Aang in the Omashu marketplace, Uncle Iroh picks up a pie show piece themed after a white lotus, an Easter egg that hardcore Avatar The Last Airbender fans would immediately pick up on, as Uncle Iroh is revealed to be part of the Secret Order of the White Lotus later on in the original series. The Order of the White Lotus was a super discreet organization of peace-loving warrior philosophers from across all four nations who would historically help the Avatar from time to time, but whose main goal was the overall betterment and protection of humanity. But anyways, Aang's tussle with Zuko would inevitably lead him and Uncle Iroh to being arrested by King Bumi's guard of earthbenders by the end of the episode, leading us to episode 4, titled Into the Dark. An aptly named episode, as this episode would find Katara and Sokka traveling through the secret tunnels underneath Omashu in order to sneak into King Bumi's palace. But before they do, Katara and Sokka run into some Earth Kingdom nomads just vibing out and enjoying some cave acoustics while singing the iconic secret tunnel song from the original series. Katara's journey through these secret tunnels goes a lot differently this time around, as in the original series, it's actually Aang and Katara's romantic love connection that helps them travel through the Cave of Two Lovers rather than the familial love connection Katara and Sokka share in this adaptation. And while the shifting tunnels with badger moles remain the same in both versions, the destinations do not. As in the original cartoon, the cave was used as a means of arriving outside the city of Omashu as opposed to a direct underground path to King Bumi's palace. But speaking of King Bumi, Aang is of course reunited with his childhood friend Bumi, who is now king of Omashu, a king who has grown angry at Aang for abandoning the world when the world needed him most. And because of that abandonment, King Bumi tells Aang that friendship is overrated, but it would actually end up being Aang's connection to his friends that would help him best Bumi in the end, convincing King Bumi to become involved with the war against the Fire Nation. Then we transition to episode 5 titled Spirited Away, which is a clear reference to Studio Ghibli's 2001 animated classic Spirited Away, a movie that also featured a creepy-ass spirit being that enjoys stealing the attributes of other people. But while the Spirited Away movie has the being no name, the Avatar universe has Ko, the face stealer of the spirit world. The episode opens with Team Avatar being chased by a group of Fire Nation soldiers through the forest before jumping off a cliff to their deaths, and that's how the show ended. Thanks so much for watching this video. You can follow me at I'm just kidding. But this opening gave me strong Star Trek Into Darkness vibes, as that movie opened in a very similar fashion, with Captain Kirk jumping off of a cliff onto his ship below in order to avoid the wrath of some native tribespeople. But anyways, in this episode, Team Avatar comes across a forest that the Fire Nation burned down because it was in their path. And because of this, the barriers between the physical and spirit worlds were weakened. In finding the shrine to the spirit of the forest, Aang meditates to enter his Avatar state, but accidentally brings Sokka and Katara along with him, which is an event that does not happen in the original series at all. As the three journey through the spirit realm, they run into a big-ass owl. An owl that doesn't pop up in the original series until the 10th episode of the second season, where Team Avatar, along with Toph, find the wise owl spirit Wan Shi Tong inside the spirit library in the Si Wong Desert. But in this adaptation, Wan Shi Tong is just chilling in the forest. But as soon as Aang sees this owl, Aang immediately asks this owl the biggest question that has been dancing around Aang's big-ass head for the last 100 years. Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? To which the owl would reply, absolutely none if you dumbass kids don't get your delicious teenage souls out of this damn forest before y'all turn into some finger-licking good soul food for Ko. But anyways, after Team Avatar gets separated by Hai Bai, the angry panda spirit of the forest that looks like something straight out of Satan's nightmares, Katara and Sokka are forced to confront painful truths about their most important memories, with Katara being forced to confront the fact that her mother died trying to protect her. But if you thought Katara had it rough, wait till you hear about Sokka's trauma, because Sokka is forced to confront the absolutely devastating and world-ending truth that my daddy don't think I'm cool. Oh no, my dad doesn't think I'm cool enough to be in a war. Oh no. But no, seriously, Katara has to deal with heart-shattering survivor's guilt, while Sokka has to deal with his dad not thinking that he's cool. One of these siblings had it significantly harder than the other, is all I'm saying. But during Sokka's vision, we get a cameo from Bato, a close friend of Sokka and Katara's father, Hakoda, an uncle figure to the two siblings. In the original series, Bato would have Team Avatar complete his version of the ice dodging trials, where he would then award Sokka with the Mark of Wisdom, the same mark that Sokka's father received when he was younger, with that mark being made in the shape of a third eye, which makes sense considering that the third eye has historically been symbolic of wisdom and intuition. But anyways, Aang would soon find himself face to faces with Ko the Face Stealer, an entity who is angry at Aang for the actions of a past Avatar who wronged him. Later on, we would learn from Gyatso that the Fire Nation's Avatar Roku was the exact Avatar responsible for pissing Ko the hell off, forcing Aang to travel to Avatar Roku's shrine in the Fire Nation in order to save the untethered souls of his friends, forcing Aang to travel to Avatar Roku's shrine at Crescent Island in order to save the untethered souls of his friends. The episode then ends with Commander Zhao receiving the Fire Stone from Fire Lord Ozai, evolving Commander Zhao into Chameleon Zhao. I'm just kidding. It was just a letter from Fire Fire Lord Ozai, informing Commander Zhao that he was now Admiral Zhao. And Prince Zuko was certainly not a fan of losing his authority at the beginning of episode 6, titled Masks. But after the opening, we find Aang arriving at the Fire Temple on Crescent Island, only to be attacked by the priest at that very same temple who have been instructed to attack the Avatar on sight. And much like in the original cartoon series, one of these priests, by the name of Shayu, saves Aang because his loyalties lie with the Avatar and not the Fire Lord. Shayu then brings Aang to Roku's shrine, allowing Aang to meditate in the Avatar state to commune with Roku. This happens super differently in the source material, as Avatar Roku can only be accessed once a year during the winter solstice. But in this new series, Aang can go talk to Roku whenever he wants, as long as he's in Roku's shrine. But anyways, Avatar Roku tells Aang that he managed to defeat Ko in the past by stealing the pendant of the Mother of Faces, an ancient spirit who apparently is responsible for making every human face in existence. So it definitely makes sense why she's the mother of Ko, the face stealer. The Mother of Faces never actually appears in the original Avatar cartoon, but instead makes her first appearance in the Avatar graphic novel titled The Search Part 2, a novel that released all the way back in 2013. After Avatar Roku warns Aang about the dangers of friendship in the face of his responsibility as the Avatar, Aang wakes up and grabs the Mother of Faces totem from a nearby shelf, only to be paralyzed by the bounty hunter June and her Shirshu Nyla, a pair that Zuko and Iroh recruited out of desperation in a previous episode. However, after June would deliver the Avatar to Zuko, Admiral Zhao would soon snatch Aang from Zuko's clutches, holding him up in a fortress overnight while his crew spiked the football and the punch in celebration. But all of those Fire Nation nincompoops didn't factor in a crazy-ass motherfucker in a blue spirit mask who would come to free the Avatar from his prison. However, during his escape, he would be knocked unconscious by the super skilled Yuyan archers, causing Aang to discover that his savior was actually his #1 nemesis, Fire Prince Zuko. After being forced to rescue Zuko, Aang and Zuko have a nice moment of connection that would foreshadow their future friendship as saviors of the world. But Zuko's lust for honor keeps him from allowing himself to be Aang's friend for realsies just yet. But anyways, Aang would of course return the Mother of Faces to Ko, who surprisingly follows through on their end of the bargain by returning every soul that he's recently stolen. Then episode 7, The North, opens with Admiral Zhao attempting to assassinate Prince Zuko via explosive boat jelly. But unfortunately for Zhao, Prince Zuko's too much of a bad bitch to get killed by such cowardly tactics. Team Avatar then finally arrives at the Northern Water Tribe, where Sokka falls in love with Princess Yue at first sight, a princess that had already met Sokka before when he was trapped in the spirit world. Due to her connection with the moon spirit, Yue was able to travel the spirit realm in her dreams as a fox, and it was in that form that Yue first discovered how goofy Sokka was as a human being and started to fall for him for some reason. I don't know why. Dude is a completely sauceless human being, but hey, everyone likes somebody. Katara, eager to learn waterbending, is instructed by waterbending master Pakku to train with the waterbending women, with Katara quickly realizing that she's been bamboozled by sexism when she sees how all the women are only relegated to the role of healers. This causes Katara to confront Pakku, which leads the two to engaging in a light sparring match. And though Katara would lose the match against Master Pakku, she instantly gained the respect of all the people of the village, causing Pakku to begin to reconsider his outdated views on women. Meanwhile, Aang heads to the shrine of the Avatar Kuruk, who tells Aang of his tragic life as an Avatar, one who was forced to spend his life battling evil spirits from the spirit world that were trying to make their way into the physical plane, with Ko the face stealer being the spirit Kuruk hated the most for stealing the face of his beloved Umi, whose face that we saw Ko flash briefly in a previous episode. And because of this lesson in pain and loss, Aang tells Katara that he feels like he can't truly be the Avatar if he has to worry about her safety during the coming battle with the Fire Nation. A battle that arrives at the North Water Tribe's doorstep at the beginning of the final episode 8, titled Legends. After Team Avatar informs the Northern Water Tribe of the approach of countless Fire Nation ships headed by Admiral Zhao, the Water Tribe prepares their defenses. Katara convinces Pakku that women can indeed get the job done just as good as the men, which then allows the women of the Northern Water Tribe to join in on a battle for the first time in their history. But unfortunately for the Water Tribe, Admiral Zhao would learn how the water and moon spirits would occasionally come down to the mortal plane and exist in vulnerable mortal forms that could potentially be killed. And because the power of the waterbenders are apparently sourced from the moon itself, Admiral Zhao aspired to kill the moon in order to wipe out waterbending for good, which leads him and Iroh to hop into his super secret stealth hot air balloon and sneak up on the Water Tribe from behind. After breaking into the Northern Water Tribe's sacred grounds, Zhao would get exactly what he wished for after he finds and kills the spirit of the moon in its mortal fish form. With all waterbending completely disabled, the Avatar was forced to put his own needs aside like his predecessors told him to, and merge with the remaining spirit of the water to become a Megazord-sized beast of a water monster, completely decimating all of the Fire Nation ships in sight. However, this process would cause Aang to lose his identity forever, and that's something that Princess Yue could not allow to happen. And since Princess Yue was infused with the power of the moon spirit when she was a little girl, Yue, in a final act of selflessness, gives Sokka a goodbye kiss and sacrifices herself to return that moon spirit energy back into nature itself, restoring the moon completely. And while all this crazy shit is happening, Prince Zuko reveals his survival to a surprised Admiral Zhao, and the two duke it out on this Northern Water Tribe bridge, much like they did in the cartoon. And during that fight, Zhao reveals to Zuko that his father was merely using Zuko's banishment as a means to motivate his sister Azula into becoming stronger and better. Motivation that would prove to be effective, as Azula would use her anger at her father to generate lightning from her fingertips, one of Azula's favorite go-to moves in the original cartoon. However, the outcome of Zhao and Zuko's final battle is different in this new show, as it would be Uncle Iroh who deals the fatal blow to Admiral Zhao, instead of Zhao being killed by Aang's water monster form. And with the battle over and won, Master Pakku gifts Katara magic water from their oasis and his blessing as a master of waterbending. A master that would be ready to teach the Avatar everything that he'll need to know about waterbending. And as Team Avatar leave on their next adventure, the season ends with Fire Lord Ozai revealing that the attack on the Northern Water Tribe was nothing but a ruse to distract the world from his true goal of bringing the land of Omashu and King Bumi to their knees, with the help of his loyal, bloodthirsty daughter Azula. And like I said before, the final scene of the series of course sees Fire Lord Ozai consulting one of his fire sages who is tracking the movement of Sozin's comet, a comet that Fire Lord Ozai plans to use to finish his ancestor Sozin's mission of taking over the entire planet. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened during this season of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. But when it comes to season 2, definitely expect to visit the city of Ba Sing Se, as that region is mentioned by Fire Lord Ozai directly as his next target following the subjugation of Omashu. And with this earthbending narrative expanding, also expect a potential season 2 to follow a lot of the same cues that we saw in the cartoon's second book centered around earthbending, meaning that we should of course see the arrival of the blind earthbending master Toph. And it would also be absolutely amazing if this production managed to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play the Boulder in a potential season 2, considering that the Boulder is obviously a super funny parody of The Rock. But regardless of whether or not I get to see Toph face off against Dwayne Johnson, I'm just excited to see a live-action Toph in motion, because Toph is straight up my favorite one of Aang's bending masters. But anyways, that is it for this recap of season 1 of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender show. What did you guys think of this program? Let us know in the comment section down below. But like always, you can follow me at Mastertainment on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or wherever I am on the internet. But most importantly, you can follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube. And when you do, make sure you hit that notification bell so that you can get notifications every time we upload a video. And hey, for just 99 cents a month, you can become a member and get early access to all of our videos. Don't forget that. It is literally the best way to support the channel beyond leaving a like and subscribing. And we appreciate it very, very much. But yeah, thanks again for watching this video. I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.